I love the one speed mainstream media has on this, where immediately they're like, well, how could they pay for it? I swear to God, every goddamn news broadcaster, when they see a good policy, immediately they go, how will they pay for it? When they see a bad policy, they never ask it. Ain't nobody asking about how we're going to pay for the border bill. I'm saying it. Now, overall, fear not, liberals. Your iconic, joyous Brat Summer seemingly is not coming to a close. Okay, judging by the direction of the polls. Okay, while there are people in this chat, including Weeby, that say Trump is going to win because of Pennsylvania. Okay, which is an understandable position. I do still think that Kamala Harris will most likely win the election. Okay. The problem here is that it should not be close. The problem here is that she should not be making the decisions that she's making currently. And instead of trying to like actively try and find these Trump supporters, the campaign is really worried about PA. They keep asking about it to everyone. Yeah. Well, they should probably consider changing trajectory on Israel. There are plenty of fucking voters in Pennsylvania alongside every other goddamn swing state that say they'd be more likely to vote for the Democrats. Maybe stop spending an entire week in Georgia and actually go to PA. That's another good way to do it. BBC senior journalist has come out and spoke to a senior journalist with BBC today who told me that it is internal policy the word Palestine is not allowed to be used in stories and interviews. And if it is, they will cut it out. They said Palestinians is okay, but Palestine is not. That's not shocking. This is the secret in New York Times as well. Journalists that don't work at the New York Times or journalists that used to work at the New York Times will openly joke about this. Okay? Look at any New York Times article. Try to find, no, we're hitting full erasure. No, we've been there. This isn't big media companies openly do not have Palestine in their lexicon. They regularly will avoid saying it, avoid writing it. It has been that way in perpetuity. They will never say Palestine. They'll say Palestinians. They will never say Palestine. It's in their style guide. Depending on the level of Zionism that people are operating on, they might not even say Palestinians. Okay? But here, let's see how the Good Morning America, the wonderful people over
Begin with the race for the White House. Vice President Harris sitting down for her first interview since taking over at the Democratic candidate, along with her running mate Tim Walz and former President Donald Trump attempting to rebrand his image on reproductive rights.
Our chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce starts us off in Savannah, where Harris held a rally on Thursday. Mary, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. Well, last night, this was the first time that we have heard from Kamala Harris in an in-depth interview like this since she was catapulted to the top of the ticket. She was methodical in her answers, with Tim Walz by her side there defending her record with President Biden, but making it clear she's eager to turn the page. Nearly 6 weeks into her campaign, Kamala Harris overnight forced to explain her policy shifts, but arguing one thing has not changed.
I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed.
Why is that a flex? You are a Democrat. You are running on a platform of change. You are a Democrat. Please, why are you saying this? Okay? Why are you? Oh my God. There is the irony here is that there is no compromise in this situation. There is no compromise in the situation because it's just a pure right-wing bill. It literally has millions of dollars allocated to building a stupid ass border wall that's not going to do anything. Okay? And it's ironic because not only is it not going to do anything, but they also actively campaigned against it for like 8 years. Not even just 4. They actively campaigned against it during the Trump administration, and they kept talking against it even after the Trump administration was over. What are you doing?
Asked if she still wants to ban fracking, something she'd vowed in 2019, Harris saying this.
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
And on whether she stands by her 2019 support for decriminalizing illegal border crossings.
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational.
Yeah, we shouldn't decriminalize border crossings. We should go even further. We should kill them. And my bill will do just that. Great stuff from the supposedly left side of American politics.
National criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race.
She's like, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall. Immigrants are rapists. You're right. Dana, Republicans are right. We all know it. Guatemalans are entering our communities specifically with one goal in mind: stealing our jobs, stealing our groceries, stealing the homes, and also doing rape. Okay? Everybody knows this. We've already completely ceded ground to the Republicans on this insane rhetoric. Build the wall. I'm a big advocate. We got to build the wall. Okay? They took our jobs, brother. They are even taking our criminal jobs. Yeah. By the way, of course, a big part of the reason why there was a shit ton of more migrants coming over the border is the Trump administration making the economy scream. By their own words, this is what they did to Venezuela, while on the other hand, also offering TPS to Venezuelan migrants. That's why so many people are coming from these places that are unimaginably sanctioned to hell. And, you know, great stuff overall. But hey, let's not get into that. That's a totally separate issue.
Who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws. And I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Running mate Tim Walz forced to explain what the Trump campaign has criticized as his misleading statements about his military service and his family's struggle with infertility.
I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights.
And for the first time, Harris recalling that surprise Sunday morning phone call from the president, informing her he was dropping out of the race.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces. And we had just had pancakes, and we were sitting down to do a puzzle.
I'm going to throw up. I don't care about this shit.
And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
Asked if he offered his endorsement.
Oh, the last thing I want to show is this is if Israel was a person.
Oh, now you have to be nice when you were pushing me and yelling at me. That wasn't nice, right?
Police! Police! Help! Help!
Guys, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Example.
Everything on camera. What's your problem?
Ladies and gentlemen, live right here. Example of what they do.
Everything on camera.
Oh, look at this guy. He's still like, you're raping somebody. Now, you're raping somebody. You're rapist. You're rapist. Oh, really? You again. You're rapist. You're rapist. You're a rapist. You're a rapist. You're a rapist.
Bro, I swear to God, defenders of Israel literally think it's West Bank everywhere. Okay? They straight up think that, like, oh no, this is exactly the same. Like, if I call the Israeli occupying force, they'll come and clean this shit up. Like, they'll just go and kill the Palestinians that are in my vicinity. Where the census is coming up right now.
Let's go back. Let's go back. For your safety, let's go back. For your safety, let's go back. Go. Come on.
It's wild that, like, it is truly wild to me that anyone who is, like, even remotely a defender of Israel has the audacity to call someone else a rapist and rape defender is crazy. It is like there are literally pro-rape riots that took place, Israeli society by and large does not think that the rapist concentration camp prison guards should be criminalized for their rape against the Palestinians that they've detained. And these guys are literally being like, oh, no, you are the rapist. You are the rapist. It's like the negligence from mainstream media on this process is straight up criminal, okay? Straight up criminal. Oh, yes, the rapist prison guard, the main rapist prison guard is now straight up a television star, okay?
All right, we've been waiting for it. In her first official interview since becoming the Democrat presidential nominee, Kamala Harris, promising a new way forward despite her role as vice president for the last 3.5 years.
And Harris is facing some criticism over having running mate Tim Walz by her side. But her campaign insists she will do a solo interview.
So the vice president defending her policy flip-flops on issues like the climate and the border while struggling to lay out her day one agenda.
First and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward. Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families. I made that clear on the debate stage in 20.
That may literally be true. Gremlin was talking to a journalist this morning that was talking about how some of the laws that around propaganda that came up after World War II, journalists providing cover for war crimes may be liable under those laws. Yeah, except the United States of America is not going to stop being the superpower, okay? Nazis lost World War II. That's why some of the journalists that carried water for their genocide and their crimes were, you know, prosecuted for propaganda.
2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General.
I just want to point out once again, okay, I want to point out once again that Kamala Harris is trailing behind Donald Trump on Israel-Palestine, okay? Kamala Harris is, I believe, 5 points behind Donald Trump. She's closer to Donald Trump on Israel-Palestine than Joe Biden was. Joe Biden was trailing by double digits. Americans, when polled, think that Joe Biden was 10 to 20 points worse than Donald Trump on dealing with Israel-Palestine. Okay? If that does not tell you that Americans are frustrated with the current administration and that Kamala has to break away from it, I don't know what to tell you. Okay? Why is Kamala Harris closer to Donald Trump on her on public opinion on Israel-Palestine? Like, who would be better? Because she's not Biden. But every single time she comes up and goes on the main stage and makes it a matter of public record that she is riding with Biden on this, she is going to get less popular on this issue.
Of California, prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed. So that is the reality of it.
A layup. I mean, this is the question every politician gets.
Sure.
What are you going to do on day one? And I mean, I'm not just talking about the presidency. They have Senate candidates, congressional. What do you do on day one? Right. What she gave us was a dream.
Right.
Like, as if she had control of Congress. They had a bill ready for her on day one. Not what she plans on doing from a ceremonial standpoint, those bills that they're going to sign once she's sworn in. And it just shows you when it comes to preparation. She's not prepared for even what she's going to do on day one. How can we trust a four-year administration.
Yeah, Donald Trump was asked that question, and he had very clear answers of the executive orders that he would sign
Said it many
if he
times.
did that. And she also did not do a good job when Dana Bash went back and asked her and said, well, a lot of people will say, why haven't
One issue I face a lot when talking about social issues that people should respond, that people respond to focus, individual accountability. Do you think is a generational difference that'll solve itself? I don't know how to answer this question.
you done this already? You are the vice president. She didn't have a lot to say there. She also flip-flopped, you guys, on a very important topic and for a very important state called Pennsylvania. So here she is talking about fracking.
What she said, these are some of the things that we would refer to as flip-flops, but last night she referred to them as, you know what? I still have the same values. For instance, in 2019, and we played a moment ago, that soundbite when she was running in the primary, she endorsed a nationwide ban on oil and gas fracking. We know that. Now the campaign has come out and said she does not support a total ban on fracking. And then when it comes to the border, in 2019, when asked which candidates believe crossing the border without documentation should be a civil offense, Kamala Harris raised her hand. However, today, Kamala Harris's campaign, now that she's running for president, says quite simply, unauthorized border crossings are illegal. Essentially, with those two topics right there, I think we saw a preview of the presidential debate when it comes to fracking and when it comes to the border, because she was unequivocal last night. She said, as president, I will not ban fracking. And she talked a little bit about the Inflation Reduction Act, which she broke the tie in the Senate, actually expanded fracking leases. And then when it comes to the topic of the border, we've heard this a million times. She talked about how she, as president, would sign the bipartisan border bill once it got through the House and the Senate. And she told the story about how the former president saw that it would probably help Joe Biden and said, hey, guys, on the Republican side, let's not pass that.
Well,
Yeah, but if you dig into that bill, that bill is really about more money going to NGOs to make the processing of more illegals over the border quicker, so the press isn't seeing everything that's happening.
And the cap with the crossing is a fake cap. It's still catch and release as well. But back to the fracking thing, she doesn't explain the change of position. So, Madam Vice President, you cast that vote. Why did you do that? Is it just because you were vice president and you were carrying out what the commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, says? But, Madam President, Vice President, you're going to be in the chair, or at least you hope to be in the chair. So do you go back to your original position in 2019? That follow-up is critical because it's a difference when you're the vice president and you have to work, or a cabinet member, and you work within the system. Your job is to serve at the pleasure of the president. And it looks like that her positions, her gut instinct is to be much more progressive.
Yeah, no question. Well, you had Lara Trump on.
Oh my God, Brian is gone. Oh my God, Brian killed me. Oh my God. Did he do it? He did it.
Earlier in the show, and you got her reaction, so here that is.
The mad lad.
It feels like Kamala Harris is running for junior class president versus president of the United States. You got no specifics whatsoever. And there was not a moment that I watched that interview and I, as an American citizen, felt confident that this is a person who understands the job of president of the United States, has a true plan of action to do anything for America, could negotiate with the world leaders on behalf of me as a citizen and this country. And I think it's kind of what we've come to expect from Kamala Harris.
Junior class president. Maybe that's why she was there.
Oh my God. Bro, I swear to God, she sounds like Cinna. Cinna sounds like Laura Trump. Close your eyes and listen.
Could negotiate with the world leaders on behalf of me as a citizen and this country. And I think it's kind of what we've come to expect from Kamala Harris.
Oh my God, bro, Cinna sounds like Laura Trump. Okay, I rest my case. I rest my case, dude. I stand corrected when I said what I said.
Down to him, you mean?
Yeah,
well, I
like
think
they were kindergartners?
You got to figure they went to a school because he was a teacher and he was a coach and all that stuff. I will say this about Tim Walz. He's really good at smiling and nodding. Because we thought, you know, if she got into a word salad problem, he would jump in.
Well, he couldn't.
As it turns out, last night.
I stand correct, not corrected. You're right.
He was only when Kamala Harris was asked that, and Lawrence, I think you referred to it as a layup question. What are you going to do on day one? Dana Bash asked that question. We've asked that question. She asked it. Kamala Harris did not answer it, and so Dana asked her again. You didn't answer my question. What would you say? Listen, you only got like 20 minutes. You're not going to waste a lot of time. So she turned to Tim Walz and asked him, what are you going to do on the first day?
She should have stayed with...
He didn't really answer it
She should have stayed with Kamala. Yeah. And you know what you see here, too, you guys have seen those hearings in Congress where the witness just needs to, like, fill up the time for the 5 minutes?
It's crazy that, like, this was probably the most, like, right-wing framed interview that CNN could possibly give without being like, Kamala Harris, why are you lying that you're black, you're Indian? Like, the only thing that Dana Bash could have done that's more right-wing than what she did was to literally just be like, Kamala Harris, why are you lying to the American public that you're a black woman? We all know you're Indian. You know what I mean? And these motherfuckers still make it seem like it's a softball. Dave Weigel, I think, had a great take here. First day question is for executive orders, and it's really awkward for a VP to get asked that because the president could literally do the EOs she wanted, so he thought it was a dumb question. No, I don't think it's a dumb question. She should be popping off on that front. Be like, I'm not Biden, you know? I don't have a problem with her separating herself from Biden. That is actually why she has so much momentum. She is not Biden.
Monologue.
That's what I felt like was happening. She was talking slowly. She was using as many words as possible. But it was intentional to fill up the time because she knew this was only going to be a 20-some minute interview.
And also to that point, Rachel, Walz, the governor, he couldn't save himself. I mean, there was a moment there where he had to explain while he went out publicly and talked about his military service and the IVF and all that, and to just say it's grammatical errors.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, he was able to work in the fact his wife's an English teacher.
That's what, I didn't find it cute. I really did not. It was you had how many days to come up with an explanation to why you lied to the American people and you let down a lot of troops. People will...
This is so funny. Like, if this is something that he says all the time, you would have more than one clip, chimp. Like, I know exactly what this is because it happens to me all the time. More frequently than you see the top of the hour ad break. Like, people will regularly clip me out of context in like one moment and then constantly be like, see, this represents all of your world beliefs over and over and over again. And it's like, if that was a genuine thing that I said, if that was a only reading Twitter XD, I mean, that's one of them. But if that was the only thing that I always said, you would have more than one clip. You know how absolutely up you got to be for someone like Kim Jong-un to say some shit like this. North Korea says Israel's a murderous, bandit, genocidal, and barbaric state. 700,000 likes. Holy my goat.
Accept an apology. But he didn't even provide that.
No.
Well, the campaign they were very risk averse. And what Dana Bash asked the questions we wanted answers to. But they just gave as innocuous an answer as they possibly could. But as I said earlier, I think it is, if I'm the Trump campaign, I just got a little view of how they're going to answer fracking and how they are going to answer the border. And we're going to talk to Senator J.D. Vance, who's running for vice president. Let's see, about 49 minutes from right now, right here on the Fox News channel. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
Whether you like it or not.
All right. Time to talk about Trump.
Becoming a drug-infested nation. So we better get our act together. You know, years ago...
And after the Trump portion, we'll do this. We'll do the census, okay?
Centuries ago, China was taken over numerous times by smaller nations, much smaller nations, because they were all drugged out from the opium fields and all of that. And then one of their very powerful leaders said no more. And they ended it, and we're going to have to end it too, because we're really a country that is we're a failing nation in a lot of ways. What they've done to our country is incredible. What is Kamala, who's a total lightweight? Did you see her on television last night? This is going to be the president. This is going to be the president of our country? I don't think so. Sitting propped up in a desk with this guy, this Tampon Tim. And it's the first interview she's done in like, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And if you're too weak to do a one-on-one interview with a person that was so soft, you know, I know Dana, she's always, you know, always nasty. She was so nice to the Democrats. It's much easier to be a Democrat, but we don't agree with their policies because their policies will destroy our nation. So we can't do that. We can't do that. But it was a very weak interview from the standpoint of CNN. I think CNN should be ashamed of themselves. If that were me, aren't they? Sir, I heard you want the death penalty for drug dealers. Why? Well, you know, I'd like to end the drug epidemic, if that's okay. Remember this, and I said it. Every drug dealer, on average, kills 500 people. That's not mentioning all of the families that are destroyed forever. They're destroyed forever. And we have to do something about it because we are becoming, and we are, a drug-infested nation. We have to do something. And if you did that meaningfully, you will, in 1 week, stop the drug problem. Nobody's going to be selling drugs.
He's going to assassinate the Sacklers.
Mr. President, crime and the rise of crime is on the minds of a lot of people. I want to call
And
on
then,
Danielle
and then he did
here.
hold on. This is the town hall that he did. He did a town hall with Tulsi Gabbard, everyone's favorite Fox News commentator. Hey, Hasan, he agrees with you. Nobody gets drugs. Wait, what? My policy of like heavily regulating drugs and still making it as like, still disincentivizing people to do drugs and hoping that like we do not criminally prosecute drug users and instead deal with the issue like it's an addiction, which it is not the same as Donald Trump saying we're going to assassinate drug dealers. By the way, before you say, oh, I saw some people in the chat saying like, oh, Duterte, like this is Duterte policy. Trump has literally talked about it at the time as a popular policy of Duterte's that he wanted to apply. So the executing drug dealer shit is not new. Like he used to say that when Duterte was in charge and doing precisely that.
Who has a question for you?
Hi, Daniel. Well, you need, and you get a lot of those questions from Minnesota, but you get a lot of those questions because Minnesota, I mean, they picked this guy. He is weird. Right? He's weird. I'm not weird. He's weird. No, he's a weird guy. He's a weird dude. You know, see, they come up with sound bites. They always have sound bites. And one of the things is that JD and I are weird. That guy is so straight. JD is he's doing a great job. Smart. Top
so
student.
Straight.
Great guy. And he's not weird, and I'm not weird. I mean, we're a lot of things. We're not weird, I will tell you. But that guy is weird, don't you think? You know, he signed for... and this is, who would think that this is even happening in our country with men playing in women's sports and all of this, but he has it at a level that nobody can believe. A bill that every boy's bathroom will have tampons, okay? Hence his name, Tampon Tim. But think of it.
There's something so funny about just genuinely not understanding where this like these guys are weird narrative comes from and failing to understand it failing to understand it so hard that you immediately contribute to this guy is weird narrative. And before you say, well, the crowd seems to be eating it up. Exactly, dude. He is so tuned into his base. That is the major problem with the Trump campaign as it stands currently. Okay? He's primed his base, and the more he leans into his base, the more he does this like crank shit, the less appealing he is to anyone who would ever look at who are like-minded, ideologically conservative, like-minded individuals who would look at him in a positive way.
Think of it. And you know, on the question of abortion, He is the one, abortion in the 9th month. And if the baby in Minnesota, and I'd love to win Minnesota because those people aren't digging this guy. They're not digging this guy. But think of this. 6 states, Minnesota's one of them. If the baby is born, you're allowed to execute the baby after, think of that, after birth in Minnesota, you're allowed to execute. And you remember the former governor, not the current governor, who's...
Perhaps this is the reason why people say you're weird, because you make shit up and then lean into that made up shit in the most graphic ways possible. And that kind of commentary is probably good for your immediate base of support because they are the weirdos, but it literally does not translate to a national campaign. This is why they lost the supposed red wave at a time when they should have been running the table. It's crazy. Like, yeah, sure, those are the losers that are primed into loving you, but there are no there are no laws in the books that allow what Trump is saying. And lying about this kind of stuff and then being like really invested in this kind of thing makes you look weird to the average person, which, by the way, I am reminded that I forgot to run the 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour after I said I was going to do it. So I'm running it now. Okay. I think I said I was going to serve it and then I forgot. So I'm running it now.
Terrific,
there it is.
Glenn Youngkin.
Kaya,
we're going to win
please.
maybe with Virginia. We could do that. But the former governor, and he said, you sit the mother down and the father down, you sit them down and you talk, and the baby is born and you make a decision what to do. He meant, do you execute the baby after birth? And according to what they have passed and legislation, in Minnesota, they're allowed to execute the baby after birth. And this guy is a participant. And that's why she picked him, because she is, in fact,
I'm telling you, it's so funny. Trump went from they're drug dealers when referring to Mexicans. They're drug dealers, they're rapists, they're criminals, and some are very fine people, to straight up saying everyone that was born in the southern portion of the American borders is a rapist, criminal, and they're all doing it. He cut out the "and some are very fine people" part. So on that front, he escalated his rhetoric to become even more unhinged. And now on the abortion shit, he went from Democrats want to do 3rd trimester abortions to like they are advocating for post-birth abortions everywhere. Now, there's an issue. The issue is he's actively priming up his base of support into becoming increasingly unhinged. Electorally speaking, this plays really poorly. Okay, it plays really poorly for his chances of winning the election, but there are still millions of Americans who now believe this shit. It's terrifying for the prospect of America's future.
Marxist/communist. Remember, I'd say all the time, our country will never be socialist, right? We will not have a socialist. Well, I was right. We skipped socialism. We went to communism. This woman has to be.
Former President Trump, who is blitzing states in the Rust Belt and overnight making a promise about IVF. Selena Wang is in La Crosse, Wisconsin, where Trump held a town hall.
This was awesome. We've skipped socialism. We're at communism. Kamala Harris. Anyway, but also let's talk about Trump's flip-flop on IVF and abortion.
All last night. Good morning, Selena.
Hey, good morning, Rebecca. Donald Trump is trying to rebrand his image on women's reproductive rights in order to shake up this race, claiming that he would make IVF treatment free without giving any details on how that would work. Overnight, Donald Trump floats a striking new proposal as he suddenly tries to rebrand himself on women's reproductive rights, an issue that he knows could hurt him at the polls in November. Trump claiming that he would make in vitro fertilization free if elected without providing any specifics on how he would pay for this costly plan or enact it.
Under the Trump administration, your government will pay for.
I love the one speed mainstream media has on this, where immediately they're like, well, how could they pay for it? I swear to God, every goddamn news broadcaster, editor in this nation, when they see a good policy, immediately they go, how will they pay for it? When they see a bad policy, they never ask it. Ain't nobody asking about how we're going to pay for the border bill. Ain't nobody asking how we're going to pay for like 20 additional trillions of dollars in baby murder weapons for Israel. But the moment that like even Trump falsely claims he's going to do this thing that he's not going to do, okay, immediately, how will we pay for it? Like they're so conditioned to being like, oh, that sounds like good policy to me. Got to shoot that down immediately. Just tackle the issue on the front that he's not going to do it. Like he's not a serious person. That's it. Tackle the issue on his flip-flopping if you want to do that. But no, they're like, how will they pay for it?
Or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for all costs associated with IVF treatment.
IVF can cost tens of thousands of dollars, with nearly 90,000 babies born in the U.S. through fertility treatments each year.
We want to produce babies in this country, right? We want to produce babies.
Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign telling ABC News Donald Trump's own platform could effectively ban IVF and abortion nationwide. Trump lies as much, if not more, than he breathes. But voters aren't stupid. Trump making this proposal despite repeatedly bragging about appointing 3 of the Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe v. Wade, opening the door to new restrictions for fertility treatments.
We broke Roe v. Wade, and we did something that nobody thought was possible. We gave it back to the states.
Earlier this year, Alabama Supreme Court declared frozen embryos human beings, entitled to full rights, causing fertility clinics across the state to shut down for weeks. A new poll finding Harris has a 16-point advantage over Trump on who voters trust more to handle the issue of abortion. In his own home state of Florida, Trump now saying he opposes the state's ban on abortion at 6 weeks, before most women even know they're pregnant.
Well, I think the 6 week is too short. It has to be more time, and so and I've told them that I want more weeks.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Wow. He's woke. He went woke now. Or perhaps he is trying to desperately swing in the opposite direction, knowing full well how bad it looks for him, because this is an issue that the Democrats have actively campaigned on. Reluctantly, mind you, but they were forced to campaign on it eventually because there was too much popular momentum in that direction. Now, imagine if the Democrats did that same thing for any number of different issues that are plaguing American society. Healthcare comes to mind. Donald Trump literally is changing trajectory on a key issue here. He's going to flip-flop again on it, by the way. But I'm just saying, like, a better future, a better tomorrow is possible, chat. Okay? That's it. Obviously, he's not, like, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, no one trusts him. But the exact mirror opposite of this is happening with immigration.
Trump contradicting his own statements that the issue of abortion should be left to the states. But Trump's campaign attempting to appease his anti-abortion base, later saying he has not yet decided how he will vote. He simply reiterated that he believes 6 weeks is too short.
Over the years, Donald Trump has flip-flopped on the issue of abortion, but his focus on IVF is clearly an attempt to blunt Harris's attacks that he would rip away women's reproductive freedoms. Rebecca?
And Selena, there's also a new ABC News Ipsos poll out overnight. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Rebecca, that's right. In a new ABC News Ipsos poll, it finds that only 29% say that Trump is prepared to accept the outcome of this election. But Trump's election denialism also resonates with some voters. Despite there being no evidence of widespread voter fraud, 1 in 3 say they are not confident that votes will be accurately counted in this election. Rebecca?
All right, Selena, thank you.
Don't hit down.
You've been listening to Donald Trump at a rally in Pennsylvania, the former president there speaking with supporters shortly after saying that he will be voting to keep Florida's 6-week abortion ban in place. Now, this comes just a day after he suggested that he opposed the 6-week ban. Let's bring in CNN's Jason Carroll. He is there at the Trump rally in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Also with us is CNN fact checker Daniel Dale. So, Jason, walk us through what Trump said yesterday and now what he and the campaign are saying today.
Well, as you recall, it was yesterday when this subject matter was brought up in an interview. Trump seemed to suggest that he was not satisfied, not happy with the 6-week time frame.
Is there like Like, is there like a law that we're not privy to, kind of like the Fairness Act or whatever, where both candidates have to literally make the same exact mistakes on other issues, but like the exact same mistakes in terms of messaging? Because it kind of feels like it's a race to the bottom. Like, on the one hand, Trump is like, yeah, I love abortion, actually. Just kidding, I hate abortion. And like, on the other hand, that's what the Democrats are doing on immigration. Like, is there like a secret rule where like they have to do that when one side triggers this flip-floppy ass sentiment, the other side also has to respond in kind for whatever their weakest issue is? This is why I was saying it's like, it's Freaky Friday out here. Kamala Harris is like, I literally will kill migrants. Like, I am the #1 migrant killer. Okay. It's my favorite thing to do. Sometimes I just, sometimes I just sit up next to the border wall with an AR-15 and I take crack shots in the direction of like whatever Venezuelan is coming over that wall. Okay. That's what I do. And they're like, well, in 2019, you said like no immigrants should be illegal. Like, and you said that border crossings should be continued to be prosecuted as a civil penalty. He's like, no, you don't understand. I want to kill migrants. And then on the other hand, you got Trump being like, abortion is murder. They want to kill the babies. They want to kill the babies after birth. That's why I stopped it. And then being like, just kidding. Actually, I think that 6 weeks is far too short. We should let abortions happen. It's not murder anymore. And we should let abortions happen until, like, I don't know, some other time frame that I will not be specifying, only to turn around and be like, that was the, when I'm f***ed up, that's the real me. That was yesterday's me. Let's not look at that. I was kidding. Abortion is still murder.
On that 6-week abortion ban that's in place, saying that it is simply too restrictive. But he left the door open. He wasn't specific in terms of would he support overturning it? Would he give any more specifics in terms of timing? Just a short while ago, he gave an interview to Fox News where he once and for all was very clear in terms of where he stands. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Are you voting yes or no on Amendment 4 in Florida?
So I think 6 weeks, you need more time than 6 weeks. I've disagreed with that right from the early primaries. When I heard about it, I disagreed with it. At the same time, the Democrats are radical because the 9 months is just a ridiculous situation where you can do an abortion in the 9th month. And, some of the states like Minnesota and other states have it where you could actually execute the baby after birth. And all of that stuff is unacceptable. So I'll be voting no for that reason.
Oh.
So a couple of things there. He says he will be voting
pussy. Oh, what happened? He got pushed, huh?
No for that reason, but to have to do a little bit of fact checking here. Once again, we should just make it very clear. It is illegal in every state in the nation to kill a baby after it's born. I mean, something like that should go without saying, but we have to keep repeating it because the former president keeps repeating that false claim. But again, at least now we have some clarity in terms of where Trump stands on this 6-week abortion ban in the state of Florida. He is now saying he does not support it and he would vote no. Back to you.
Yeah, and important clarification, fact check there. And for more fact checking, let's bring in Daniel Dale. So, Daniel, what have you heard in these different sets of remarks by Trump?
He just keeps telling the same lies over and over, Alex. So not only this post-birth execution nonsense that we just heard a very good fact check of, but he also claimed the 2020 election was rigged. We've been hearing that since 2020. It remains a lie. He claimed that he signed an old law in 2020 that gave an automatic 10-year prison sentence to anyone who did so much as touch a monument during protests. He did not sign any new law or an old law on that subject, didn't sign anything. He issued an executive order calling on the DOJ to enforce existing laws, so nothing new. He repeated his nonsense about Venezuela and the Congo emptying prisons to allow criminals to come here as migrants. There is no proof for that in either case, and both the Democratic Republic of Congo and the neighboring Republic of Congo have told me it is completely false. He said that the numbers of people we lost to drugs are fake, and it's probably 350,000 per year. The official number is about 110,000 last year, and while experts have told me there is likely some undercount, there is no reasonable way to get as high as 300,000, the figure he used to use, let alone the 350,000 he used today. One expert told me this is a, quote, made-up number. Alex?
Donald Trump bringing reproductive rights right back to the center of this campaign. Daniel Dale, Jason Carroll, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Let's get more on this with our political experts. Priscilla Alvarez, I want to start with you. This is a pretty remarkable turnaround from yesterday. The one thing he said that was the same both yesterday and today is that you need more time, basically more than 6 weeks for this abortion ban. But today making it clear that he would vote against overturning it.
I mean, this tells you everything you need to know about how high of an issue this is for voters going into November. And it is also going to be used by the Harris campaign, which I have been following. In fact, the vice president at the beginning of this year started a reproductive rights tour. I was at her first stop, and this was a notable moment at the time because it's been a galvanizing issue for Democrats, and they were assigning it to her to essentially be the voice on it. In Arizona, she had a rally there, and she called it the Trump abortion ban. She coined that term, and that was it. After that, they used it repeatedly. And it's these types of moments that they seize on to remind voters about what they say is Trump essentially allowing for these abortion bans, for being in this position in the first place because of the Supreme Court and the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So the campaign doing more of this.
What the fuck was that noise? Tim Walz 90-95 Ankara metro istasyonunda bana crack sattı. Dude, I have the weirdest chatters, man. Like, actually. This chatter is saying in Turkish that Tim Walz in 1995 at the Ankara metro station sold them crack.
Soon with a reproductive rights bus tour with at least 50 stops. So clearly a big issue.
Yeah, where they will certainly continue to hammer him on this. Josh Dawsey, I want to go to you. You obviously follow the former president and his campaign very closely. How much do you think this back and forth over this specific Florida amendment shows
Damn, dog.
that...
Sit up. What the f? Be a little bit more presentable, homie. What the hell? I don't even give a f about the optics or whatever, the aesthetics, but god damn, son. Who the f?
The former president is really having a tough time here, trying to navigate this new era of post-Roe politics that he really helped create.
Yeah, he's having a tough time with this one because when he instituted the it could be left up to the states. Trump saw that as a way to basically not have to take a position himself. Some of his advisors were pushing him to do 15-week ban, a 16-week national ban. He didn't want to take a position for himself.
Bro looks like a munchkin, dude. What the f? I can't get over it. I'm sorry.
But because Florida is a state where he lives and he votes, this 6-week ban now he has to take a position on it. And when Florida did the 6-week ban on the campaign trail when Ron DeSantis was running for president, Trump immediately thought it was a huge mistake from DeSantis. He told folks, I don't get why he's doing it. What is he doing there? That's not going to be popular. That was his first original take. And he criticized that ban because he wanted to go after DeSantis. DeSantis he viewed as his political opponent, right? And he said, I don't think this ban makes sense. Then you saw the pro-life community come back pretty fiercely, deeply concerned that he was taking on a bill that would limit abortions in Florida, something that they want to do very much. So really,
you see this goon? Holy shit, Trump's look at this.
Abortions in Florida, something that they want to do very much.
He got an ass on him, dude.
Concerned that he was taking on a bill that would limit abortions in Florida.
He's like, yeah, y'all union lungheads better not try some shit. I'm the most tactical man in this goddamn arena. That's so funny. He is so hench. He is the most henchman coded person I've ever seen.
They want to do very much. So really for the last year or so, you've seen Trump vacillate on this issue, meeting with various groups, meeting with various activists, trying to do a more, a place where he doesn't have to support things like he's having to do today.
And Charlie Dent, in terms of his difficulties in walking this line, when you hear Trump saying that he will now vote to keep the 6-week Florida abortion ban in place, is that a recognition by the former president that he was facing significant blowback from the right flank?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Donald Trump, has unfixed policy positions, and they shift constantly, and no more on the issue of abortion. And I think the GOP recognizes that it is in an unsustainable position on the abortion issue that they need to moderate. So I think Trump is correct by trying to moderate the position of the party. The problem that he has, of course, is that he's like the proverbial arsonist trying to extinguish the abortion fire he helped start. And so he doesn't have a lot of credibility on this issue.
CNN has so many former Republicans. Yeah, they love that shit. God damn, CNN loves former Republicans. They love having current Republicans too. They love having former Republicans, current Republicans. They just love Republicans. At a certain point, you got to realize like they are totally locked in.
I was one of the last pro-choice Republican members of the House Republican Conference in Washington, and I've been sounding this alarm for some time that the party was not in a good place, that these positions, these 6-week bans and other sorts of policies were very unpopular and were damaging the GOP and certainly widening a gender gap, particularly with women. So I think the party's in a bad spot, and Trump is trying to fix it, but he is simply the wrong messenger on this.
Isn't that normal for a news source, having people from both sides? Brother, first of all, the American political spectrum is far more expansive than having like 3 former Republicans on a panel and like 1 Democrat or 1 leaning liberal, especially when you're supposed to be CNN. Okay? What the fuck what's wrong with chatters, man? Like, ain't nobody says this about Fox News, bro. They say this is the communist news network. They say it's the Clinton news network. And you're like, but I don't get it. Like, of course, they're supposed to have some Republicans. It's all they have, dude.
This issue. So in the pro-life community, I think they've miscalculated terribly. They cut a deal with a very transactional man, Donald Trump. And now they're shocked. They're shocked that he is now somehow coming back to a pro-choice position, not only on the 6-week bill, but he's also endorsed or he's not going to do anything to try to stop the movement of abortion drugs across state lines. And so they're unhappy with him. What they're finding out, though, that Right to Life movement is that many Republican voters don't have that strongly held a position on this.
What do you mean? They have right-wing and left-wing Republicans. Yeah. They represent both sides of the political spectrum very well. They have conservatives from all different walks of life. What more could you want from CNN? They have former Republicans. They have current Republicans. They have Republicans in name only. They have all different kinds of Republicans. Some of them are literally square.
This issue, at least for these types of extreme policies.
Megan Hayes, let me bring you in. So Trump has been purposefully vague, trying to play both sides, trying to really straddle this line for quite some time now. Now he's quite firm that he's going to try to keep this 6-week ban in place in terms of at least the Florida amendment. Pick up where Priscilla left off in terms of how you expect the Harris campaign to seize on this.
Well, he's firm today, so we'll see what he says tomorrow because it's different than what he said yesterday. So I think that he's trying to muddy the waters and he's trying to create.
No. The Havana Syndrome hoax is over. No, but so many Redditors told me I was wrong when I kept telling them this is bullshit and it's completely made up. Wait, what? I don't get it. Huh. The last 60-minute segment had literally 0 evidence while they claimed they did. Yeah, I know. Spokesman for NIH said the internal review found that informed consent policies to join the study were not met due to coercion, although not on the part of the NIH researchers. Given the role of voluntary consent as a fundamental pillar of the ethical conduct of research, NIH has stopped the study out of an abundance of caution. She did not say who coerced the patients. Oh, I wonder who did. They did a whole 60 Minutes law. I know. I was there. I covered it. And I yelled about it the entire time. Being a leftist is being right just too early. The 60 Minutes episode was one of the funniest things we watched ever on stream. Yeah, it was funny because it's like this devastating weapon. This devastating weapon makes you poop your pants. Like automatically. That's just hilarious, dude. Like this devastating secret weapon that somehow no one else is harmed by, that is able to beam like only the CIA agent in Havana and no one else in the near vicinity, okay? Like no one hears about it, no witnesses whatsoever. And what is the devastating consequence? It makes you feel anxiety and it makes you poop your pants.
Chaos, but I think what the Harris campaign is doing is they're picking up and they're going, this issue is very important to women, and it's very important to these independent women in these battleground states where this election is going to be decided, and they are playing it smart, and they always have. This is a super popular issue and it polls really high, the Harris campaign is leading in the polls by 20 points with women, those are the people who are going to decide this election. When you're talking 10,000 votes in these states, that's a major pickup. And then if he's going to isolate his base and he's going to, maybe people won't turn out. So every vote matters in these battleground states. And so they are capitalizing on an issue that's extremely important to Democrats. And it's not just women, it's also men who live with these, who have moms and sisters and daughters. So he's just, when he's trying to muddy the waters and continue to go back and forth, it doesn't do anything but help Democrats and help the Harris campaign.
Some confusion over former President Donald.
Also, before we get to that, here's Donald Trump saying, perhaps we should give Kamala Harris a Make America Great Again hat.
So, Kamala was for defunding the police. She was for the open borders. She was for everything that you're not against. I could go through 14 different. She's changed on every single one of them. In fact, I think we should see the man in the red hat and the beautiful woman in the red hat says, Make America Great Again. Perhaps we should give Kamala a Make America Great Again hat, right?